Hello everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I'm John, the host. You guys, you are what makes the show works. You guys do a great job. Thank you for the support personally and also by coming here every day. You've probably already detected I'm a little under the weather. I've got a bit of a serious stomach flu that kind of taken me out. So rather than show you my greenness, I'm going to just let you have the emblem today. Not feeling good at all. Anyways, enough about that, or I guess we could talk about it real quick. Once again, health is extremely important in the event of an emergency. You're going to need to be at the top of your game. You can't be tired or sluggish or mentally slow. So once again, eating healthy and making sure everything in your world is as sanitary as possible will help you. At the same time, whenever you're sick and you're like, man, I feel like crap, you get to tell yourself, if my enemy feels like crap, you know, they're going to have a hard time screwing with me. If you have that sort of situation where you have to invoke your self-defense plan. Anyways, health is key, and when you don't have it, you really notice how important it is. Alrighty, so let's move into the subject du jour. I didn't mention the man, and I said he's the name, the name that we shall not say, but today I'm going to talk a little bit about the passing of the late senator, and I'm going to use his name as little as possible. Anyways, the person is McCain. But what is really important to note here is this man was immensely powerful. He was a presidential candidate, and what he's done in politics is he's made being a rhino, a Republican name only. He's made it popular. He's made it cool. And he showed that when there is a tight margin in the Senate, that he and people he can wrangle into his position or perspective, he can take a majority, which the Republicans have, and he can weaken the power of that majority by demanding pork or writers, special consideration for his position, right? In other words, every vote John McCain took, you had to buy it from him in one fashion or another. He was politically divisive. Everyone was screaming to get rid of Obamacare, and who held it up? That's right, Mr. McCain. How he can call himself a Republican, I don't know. But what's important to know that when he was alive, he was extremely powerful. And even in his death, he is still extremely powerful. He was, as far as I'm concerned, a deep state, dark state operative. And he was used to further their agenda, to weaken the political structure, right, as much as direct it in his direction, the way he wanted to go. And I have in the times past talked about his interactions with ISIS members and terrorists and how he just loved glad-handing them. But again, that was when he was alive. Now that he's dead, he is still extremely powerful because even in death, he is being politicized. He is being used as a tool. And what's the tool they're using for at this very moment? Well, they're bashing Trump with the death of Senator McCain. Right? They're bashing him. So you can tell where he stood politically and what he stood for based on how he's being used even in his death. Now, what else is really important is that the usage of a dead man shows how insignificant you and I are. We're completely insignificant. We don't matter as Americans, as the people who pay the bill. Right? What really matters is that agenda out there. Right? They're going to take a dead guy and they're going to use a false image of him right? They're going to make some sort of political martyr out of him, and they're going to use him. That's how insignificant you are, right? A dead guy takes precedent over what everyone else needs to have done to fix all the real problems. As a prepper, this is incredibly important, because it shows how insignificant you and I will be when shit hits the fan. It shows how insignificant they think the problems are, right? They don't need to fix the problems for us. We don't matter. What matters is their agenda. So when shit hits the fan, right, the government will probably run to the McCain estate and make sure his eternal flame is still lit before they do a damn thing to help anyone else. And I know that's a bit judgmental and harsh on my part, but you know, it's my response is a response to the way they have treated us and how they've made a hero out of somebody who was not, and then use him for political gain and purposes. And not only are we insignificant, but we're sacrificial. Right? If you want to look at people who have been killed in false flags, men and women in the armed services who have died in the line of duty in combat, performing their jobs on an everyday basis, they've been injured or hurt in order to support an effort, they were sacrificed if it wasn't done for the right reasons. Right? There's a good and noble sacrifice, and then there's a sacrifice in vain. Right? And it's terrible to think. But out here on the street, you know, in the civilian world, you and I, everyone, right, we're also sacrificial. If they've done false flags in the past, and if they have plans in the future, like right now, North Korea is kind of winding back up. It's being used as a tool. It's becoming politicized again, just like McCain's death is politicized. And if they want to go so far as to have a nuclear event, right, whoever gets hit with that nuclear device, whether it's a dirty bomb or atomic bomb or a hydrogen bomb, whatever style of weapon of mass destruction is used, the people that are affected by it, basically you're sacrificial for the cause. And that cause has nothing to do with the Constitution or freedom or faith or America. It has everything to do with these uber-rich powers that be knotheads. You know, it's everyone, you know, our lives, we don't matter. It's no biggie to the big guys to create a shit hits the fan event or to create an environment in which shit is going to hit the fan and it'll thrive. You know, we are insignificant and sacrificial. Right? Now, if they had not used McCain this way, I wouldn't have done this video. Right? But because they're using McCain's image, his death, this way, as a political ploy to bash Trump and to bash Republicans and to bash freedom and to continue to use him, they're willing to sacrifice, you know, truth. If they're willing to sacrifice his name and use him as a freaking stick to beat everyone with, imagine what they would do with us. You know, when they talk about people who died in the World Trade Center, they usually throw a number. The 2,000, the 3,000, the 4,000. When they talk about the Holocaust, they say the 4 million, the 5 million, the 6 million. It's a significant number, but there's no names. It's just a number, and they beat people with this large number of regular humans to make a point. But we're so insignificant, we're assigned to 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 1,000,000. But, you know, McCain, they're bashing him. Right? He's so important and so powerful, they can use just his name to beat us about, to beat on the president. See how insignificant we are? See how he is so much more powerful than us today. I mean, you could pull any one of the 70,000 killed Vietnam vets. You can pull their name out, and you can you know, you can light a candle and you can talk about them, but there's no political value there. Right? There's nothing to gain. Right? You have to use every single Vietnam vet that was killed in order to get any value out of it. But McCain, they're going to use him, right, left and right, for political purposes. Now, in honesty, I have to say, well, what about Reagan? People love to, hold Reagan up and point to him. And that's correct, right? We point to the good things that Reagan did, or the things that we liked, or the things that we agreed with. And so we hold Reagan up that way. But we don't hold him up and beat other politicians with him. We don't beat the people of the United States with him. Right? So there is quite a bit of a difference. Reagan represented this push for greatness in Americans' minds, still to this day. Whereas McCain, when you look at his politics, it was divisive. It was his positions were instrumental, and they were done for personal political gain. And it's hard to fault him when you're in that position with all that power. I'm sure it goes right to their fucking heads. It's hard for it not to. Talk about my brother a little bit. He says that Trump is a political infant. And we had a discussion. I said, well, in a sense he is, but also he's been doing business as a billionaire. And that says a lot. And he's done so in the city of New York and New Jersey and other areas where he spends an awful lot of money, and you can't do that. You can't work with government developing properties that are that extensive. You just can't do it without having an understanding of how government works, and probably on some very significant and important levels that, let's just say, a governor who gets elected president doesn't understand unless he has been a businessman. And frankly, that's pretty damn rare. Usually politicians start somewhere earlier in life and they become a politician and they stay a politician. And usually coming from the professional sect of lawyers. Anyways, it's important to note as preppers that everything is a tool. Everything is a weapon. Everything follows an agenda. Right? Every crisis that happens is exploited. Right? Every crisis is an opportunity to exploit for power and for money. Our good buddy Rahm Emanuel there, he said that. Let no good crisis go to waste. Right? McCain's death, that's not a crisis, but it's certainly an opportunity for exploitation. And what they've demonstrated is they're very willing to do it. Right? If McCain was such a good man and so honorable and so perfect and all that other shit, if he's that good, why are they disgracing his name and his legacy to beat Trump? To beat on Trump? Right? If he was such a dynamic, invaluable, irreplaceable person, and I don't believe any of those things, but if he was, why would they do this to him? Why would they exploit him? Well, it's for their own power, their own control, their own wealth. And what do we have coming up? We've got a wonderful midterm election. And there's a lot of momentum on the side of the Republicans, the mainstream media. They are sacrificing truth, right? Truth is sacrificial. It's insignificant because of their agenda. In other words, everything is pushing an agenda so hard. It's like they're begging for shit to hit the fan. They're showing us how we don't matter. The fight isn't for freedom anymore. It's a fight for power. It's a fight for the control of the money. And we don't matter. We're the pawns on the board. Right? And the bigger pieces, they're making their moves because they want to enrich themselves. There is no riper political, economic environment, not to mention a social environment. There's no riper time for shit hits the fan and a massive false flag potential than right now. Right? We really are insignificant. We're puppets. We're pawns. We're out here trying to be, just live our lives, trying to pay our bills, get to work every day. But this is what they want. This is where they're going with it. If they're willing to sacrifice, a man whose name alone carries as much political power and pressure as millions of other citizens, right? How insignificant is a city or a region, especially when you look at the entire structure, the entire world structure. It wouldn't be a big deal to them, the powers that be, right? These Illuminati guys. It wouldn't be a big deal to them, to take out a city. They've done it in the past. It's not a big deal to them to start a war, because these things don't happen until they've positioned themselves properly. They never ever put themselves in a position where they aren't in a position to benefit financially and to control the political dogma. Right now it appears like the powers that be are losing that control. And so they position themselves financially. They position themselves politically. They position themselves even geographically. What I mean by that is the people that have moved on down to New Zealand, where they've got bunkers, these super $1 million and $1 billion bunkers in remote places like Canada, maybe even the Antarctic, Patagonia, places of refuge where they're gonna wait out the storm. In other words, well, unfortunately, we don't have that sort of opportunity. We have to make plans for bugging in or bugging out. Traveling after an emergency. We're getting ready, right? We're hunkering in. Just like when the hurricane comes, some people flee because they can, and everyone else, they hunker down. They weather the storm, and then they come out afterwards and they deal with it. But they're looking at the whole piece. As George H.W. Bush, the father, when he was president, talked about the New World Order and how they wanted it and they worked for it for a long, long time, and how they will get it, right? Essentially, come hell or high water, they're going to get it. And I don't know about the high water part, but we certainly know that they're willing to go and put us through hell. They've done it on every continent, including including Antarctica, if you count Operation High Jump, and who knows what else. But yeah, basically everywhere that you've got mineral resources or agricultural resources, they have fought a war over it, fought a war for it, and sacrificed everyone, and showed how insignificant we are as people. When your government starts demonstrating how insignificant you are, you better take that as a major sign, a major indicator, right, that trouble is on the horizon. And trouble usually is always on the horizon, through the ages, for centuries and centuries. Right? But our government was founded to secure our liberties, right, to work for peace, etc., etc. They don't seem to do that so much anymore. They're more concerned about their top-line revenue and their bottom line and how much they can hide in between so they don't pay taxes or get held accountable. Anyways, I'm going to cut this video off right here, about 20 minutes or so. McCain, his death has been politicized. Right? He doesn't matter, but they're going to use him. These bigwigs, they're incredibly powerful, even in death. You need to be prepared with food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. You need to be prepared, because these people, they'll sacrifice anyone and anything to get their way. The closer we get to this election, we're going to find out which way the pendulum swings. And either way, I expect there to be trouble. I anticipate trouble either way. And I'm not talking about nuclear holocaust over the whole planet, Captain Chaos, terror. But I expect a lot of trouble, socially and politically and economically, just because if the Democrats win in this midterm election, they're going to move for impeachment before the ink on the hanging chads is even dry. And if the Republicans maintain control, there is going to be an additional wailing and gnashing of teeth that's going to occur. You know, they're going to lose their fucking minds. And they're going to go nuts. And so either way, I think there's going to be hell to pay, in other words. So get yourself prepared. Thank you, everyone, very much. And hopefully I'm feeling better here pretty quick. You guys be cool. Semper Fi and chance favors. The prepared mind is yours.